Wyoming, ranked 10th in the size of states, but the smallest number of population. Ride along with us as we overland through this great state.
We don't need a destination, let's go where the river's taking us.
This trip started on one side of the United States and pretty much went to the other. We camped a couple nights along the way, but the adventure really didn't start until we made ourselves to Wyoming. Once in Wyoming, we made it to Rock Springs, climbed the mountain, and the plan was to meet up with the group on a mesa overlooking the town. There was going to be a total of 6 rigs to begin this adventure, and I'll introduce them a little later in the video. This rendezvous spot was supposed to be the first campsite, so everybody could just relax a little bit after a long day's drive. However, the Wyoming winds had different plans. It was way too windy up there to stay the night, so we all decided to look for a little better cover. Once we made it off the bluff, it wasn't long at all before we found some of the famous true track that Wyoming is known for. It also wasn't long before we found our first obstacle.
Well, Deb just near lost her off-road flip-flop.
Well, it wasn't anything too difficult. This was our first trip with a trailer, and there was another trailer with us. Another thing that we were unsure about is how this terrain reacted, how it reacted to water, and just how deep and soupy these mud holes could be. It ended up being no issue at all, but this is a good time for me to start introducing the crew that's with us. In the white 392 with the hiker trailer, you have Teddy and JoJo from Cook Tire. Next, you have a couple familiar faces on the channel. You have Joe and Josh from The Day We Make, other known as Feral Joe. Next, you have Misty and Maddie from The Day We Make and Lady Overlander Radio, and they're going to be in the only Toyota in the group for the month. And then you have Jimmy and Kristen from Frenchy Overland. And bringing up the tail and making sure nobody gets left behind is Matt and Dawn in their gray Wrangler. After a little bit of two-track, we got back on a little better road, made a run across the desert for some hills. The plan was to find some cover. And that we did. We found a little low-lying area behind some small hills, which made for a perfect campsite for the night and our first incredible sunset. The rest of the evening was spent catching up around the fire, telling a few stories, and getting ready for the rest of the trip.
When I got ready, I put my boots on, and then she said, okay, it's time.
The next morning, there wasn't a whole lot of time spent around camp. Everybody packed up pretty quick as we were all excited to see what Wyoming had to offer us. From camp, we would leave there and head northeast. The general direction was towards the Honeycomb Buttes area. In just a few miles, we made our first stop. It was at the White Mountain petroglyphs, and this was definitely one of those places that we had to stop and spend a little bit of time checking out. This site is culturally important to 4 Native American tribes and is said to have petroglyphs dating back over 200 years. In addition to the petroglyphs, it was obvious that this had been a stopover for centuries by the amount of black soot along this small cave. was also really cool to see the different layers of rock. Here you can see a layer that is mostly sand and what looks like washed pebbles. It's hard to believe this vast valley was once completely underwater. As soon as we left there, we were looking for more of that historic two-track, and we found it. It looked like these washouts were going to be kind of a theme across these open plains. This one seemed to be a little bit deeper than the other one, but at least it was dry.
Good. You're good.
Say they're all hitting rock bottom.
The next site that we wanted to drive by has been a navigational beacon in this area for hundreds or thousands of years, and that is the Boar's Tusk. This structure that jets up over 400 feet out of the valley floor is remnants of a dormant volcano from over 2.5 million years ago. Making our way on north and east, we then had Steamboat Mountain in our sights. Our planned route had us going just along the bottom of the mountain, but just like everything else, it's just a general route. I seen an opportunity to climb the mountain and get up on top, and that's exactly what we did. This is what it feels like.
We are at 7,800 feet.
Well, I feel like we've got to stop here and just take it in for a few minutes.
Definitely.
We were all very glad that we made the detour because this ended up taking us to one of the most majestic overlooks of the whole trip. The view was so incredible from up here, we decided to stay up on top, but still head in the general direction that we had originally planned. This alternate route also brought us by another historic site, the TriTerritory historic site. This monument was erected in the 1950s to mark the location of the Oregon Territory, the Mexico Territory, and Louisiana Purchase, and this is where they all three came together. There are 3 flagpoles that represent each one of those territories, and a 4th flagpole to represent the United States. One of the things that we were most excited about this trip was the ability to see wildlife. And one of the first things that we got to see were these incredible wild horses. It was truly a treat. As we continued to climb in elevation, the views kept getting better and better, and we knew that this was only just a taste of what we were going to get to see over the next 3 to 4 weeks. Before we knew it, we had made enough elevation climb to start seeing the remnants of last winter's snow. We were also seeing more remnants of the runoff from last winter's snow, and this one was a little bit deep. I decided to go first. We had tested the ground and made sure that it was just really soft sand, but I also knew that this trailer was going to have to push a little bit of dirt. Had it been any other typical trailer, I may not have done this, but knowing just how well the Expedition trailers are built, I was very cautious, but I also knew that by being cautious and easing through, this trailer could take what I was getting ready to put it through.
Wait a minute, it's in.
After just a little bit of grade work, we were able to make our way right on through the ravine.
Easy.
Next, Teddy was up, and he didn't have to do near as much grade work as I did, but he still dragged just a little bit.
Oh, that's digging in.
There you go. All right, real easy on the back end. Real easy, looking good.
By the time Matt and Dawn had made it through, we had wore it down pretty evenly, and it was just a piece of cake from there. After that big ravine, we continued meandering our way towards the Honeycomb Buttes.
That's amazing.
As we got closer and closer to the Honeycomb Buttes, we knew that their colors were going to be amazing, but it looked like something that belonged in Utah instead of Wyoming. This area was so cool that we all had to stop and take a few pictures. We continued making our way on through the buttes, marveling at all the different colors. Keeping a check on the trailer was pretty easy using the rear camera. As we made it out of the buttes, we turned our sights a little more northwest, generally following part of the Oregon Trail. And it was here that the picturesque Wind River Range started coming into view. There were all kinds of pronghorn sheep along this area, and it was obviously birthing time. We found this little guy who didn't look like, but he was about hours old. We left him where he was at because we knew that his mama would be right back for him, and didn't touch him at all. It was getting later in the day, and we were paralleling Lander Creek, just at the foothills of the mountains. We decided this would be a perfect place to start looking for somewhere to set down for the night. After a little bit of scout work, Dawn and Matt found the perfect place to call camp for the night. As we made the turn to the location of where they had found camp, we knew it was going to be magical.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, the view.
This is perfect.
This was the perfect view and the perfect campsite. The Wind River Range in the background and a beautiful stream running by. It didn't take long at all for everybody to set up camp. We had definitely gained some elevation throughout the day, and it wasn't desert heat anymore. It was actually a little bit chilly and was a perfect night to fix up a campfire. This was also the perfect place and opportunity to set up the Joolca for a nice hot shower along the stream. After delicious meals, hot showers, and a beautiful sunset, we all sat around the campfire and talked about the day's events.
It might be a little tight. Yeah,
It wasn't long before everybody was tired and ready to call it a day. We hope you've enjoyed riding with us on part 1 of our Wyoming Overlanding series, and stay tuned next time when we make our way into the Bighorns. Until next time, see you.